What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the Scream 6 projection, right? What's being predicted that they're going to do at the box office, and this comes from Deadline. I want to read over some of the details. They go over some of the demographics of like who saw Scream 5, and it's looking good. It's looking real good for Scream 6. It's actually pretty surreal, right? Besides the leaks being out and I guess us reaching that phase of the movie coming out, that we also can talk about how much money it's going to make. So let's read through this thing a little bit, just the fine details, the ones that jump out at us the most, and let's talk about it right after. So they start with saying it looks to be a franchise opening record of $37 million domestically is what it's looking like for that opening weekend. The previous high was for Scream 3, which was 34.7, and they say there's a lot of factors, the Jenna Ortega thing, which I do want to talk about, but also fans were pleased with the previous movie, which further demonstrated the power of horror, which was a $30 million three-day opening and final domestic of 81.6. Then they go into the demographics, right? The sweet spot for Scream 6 is the 18 to 34 crowd, just like last year's, which pulled in 67% of that demo. The sequel is also heavily diverse, Scream attracting 33% Latino and Hispanic, 11% Black, and 5% Asian. Also popping on tracking is the aging Gen X crowd, which is the 45 to 54 set, who are the legacy fans, and the last installment leaned slightly towards guys at 53%. I think they covered it. I'll just kind of throw in my opinions to it. It does show kind of the power of this franchise, right? And you can talk about it all you want, but then when you actually see it in front of you, a little bit different, right? We can say that there's the old generation right, that grew up on Scream 1 through 3, let's say, and those people still will watch it now, or maybe there's a Nev factor there, maybe there's not. You can say it all you want, and then you look at the evidence, and it's like, yeah, honestly, there is that aspect of it, right? This movie franchise, right now at least, appeals to the younger generation. But you're looking at this group that were in their 20s or 30s when the film started, right? Which is the same demographic as now, but just, we're in a new age. And then also the diversity of it. I would imagine that, right? I wonder how much that has to do with like Melissa or Jenna, themselves, both of them being the leads, right? Great. I mean, the more the merrier. It's not a competition of who sees it and which demographic has the highest percent. It's good to see that this movie franchise speaks with groups of all different ages and also just different ethnicities, different backgrounds of life. That's, I imagine, I don't really look at movie breakdowns that often besides Scream, but I'd imagine that's a very good sign. So far, that first sentence or the first paragraph, right, tracking at around 37 when 5 did 30. Now, I've talked about it before. That's I feel like that's actually a good sign. I've always talked about it that I am a little worried, right? Because this time you have competition. You didn't have competition so much with 5. In fact, to be fair, you had no competition. With this, you got John Wick, you got Super Mario. I think John Wick is 2 weeks after. Super Mario is maybe 3 or 4. And yes, they're different genres, and I think the horror franchise or the horror genre is just its own thing, and I think it'll do fine. It factually, like literally, it has more competition, more movies that are of name will be at the box office now than it was, back for Scream 5. That's just literally how it works. So will that impact it? Honestly, even if it does, if it starts out stronger than 5 did, it may not matter, right? Because ultimately, if you start out stronger, maybe you end slightly weaker, right? Maybe it's not, maybe people aren't as passionate. Maybe some people, like Critical Overlord, instead of seeing it 20 times, he sees it 10 times, right? Great guy, but I'm just joshing around. But that stuff could happen, right? And if that stuff does happen and you lose a couple $1 million here and there, well, if you started out higher, then you can end lower. And ultimately, I mean, honestly, I really think I'm probably going to be pretty close. I predicted a while ago 6 will probably make the same as 5. Like, I don't think it's going to be some huge substantial jump. I think I've kind of gone back and forth. I feel pretty good in saying I think pretty similar is probably where I land right now. And if that happens, 7 is locked. Now, does 7 start to decrease? Would there be fatigue? Do you stop it at 7? I think a lot of people maybe expect it to stop at 7 anyway. Those are questions for the future, right? But for right now, we can bask in. Scream is, it seems like it's bigger than it was a year ago, which is a good sign, and it shows in the early data for tracking. Tracking, though, can sometimes be off, right? I have seen stuff for other movies where they think it's going to make so much, and they're very, very wrong. Hopefully, they're right with Scream. So let me know what you think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on, and I hope to see you all on the next one.